Welcome, everybody. John Zager. How's everyone doing? It's a beautiful morning here in Colorado, Eastern Slope. Clear skies. Haven't had any rain to speak of in the last few days. That's been fine. But it's been really hot. Hot around here is in the mid 90s and humid. You feel really sticky, kind of like take 2 showers a day kind of thing. It's early. It's 7 o'clock here in the morning. I'm a little tired. I've been up most of the night. But kind of wanted to get on and talk a little bit this morning if I could. Haven't been on for a while. Haven't been doing very many podcasts for the past, I don't know, week, 10 days, something like that. I've been sort of trying to survive. Times have gotten really tough, and just trying to survive, I guess, financially and transportation-wise and housing-wise. And I think a lot about psychology and neuroscience, but what's Dr. Joe say? 70% of people live in stress survival. So it's pretty hard to be creative. Plan for your future. I had one good thing happen to me that's pretty significant. Kind of wanted to talk about that for a moment. So my truck that I've had for 300,000 miles finally broke. It blew the engine. I tell people that I threw a rod. I don't know what that means. But if it means the truck stopped running, then I haven't lied to anybody. I was actually going to look for some of those buy here, pay here. I started looking at some of those little car lots. When times get tough, you do tough things, I guess. And I was sort of at that spot. Didn't make it that far. My truck just decided that it wasn't going to go any further. So I went into a new car dealership. I said to myself before I got out of my truck that wasn't going anywhere, I said, there's somebody today who really wants to sell me a car, a truck. And it's going to be okay. Everything's going to turn out all right. And a big car dealership ought to be able to know how to get someone in lack without money into some kind of a car. I mean, they want to sell a car to anybody, don't they? And so I just thought, I'm here. We might as well go in and spend a couple minutes and ask them some of these questions. And then we'll just be on our way. So I went in. I should preface this with, I was really looking for a cup of coffee first, and the guy came out and showed me where the coffee was and said, please, let's get you some coffee, and started talking, and he didn't talk about cars or trucks or what he could sell me. He kind of talked about how can we fix what's broken, you know? He obviously could tell things were broken down on the road, and I probably needed some help. So, nice enough guy, but he had the disposition that I don't care what your circumstances are, I'm going to sell you a vehicle today. And the other, I guess, part of his demeanor was, everything's going to be all right. Doesn't matter if your truck is broke down out there. It's still going to be all right. So, if we could only, I don't know, find more salesmen with his approach, the industry would maybe have a little better reputation. Long story short, I got carried away there. Long story short, he found 3 vehicles that flat out I could have. Any one of the 3. There wasn't even any question about it. There wasn't, your credit is poor, or you don't have enough credit history, or you don't have any money, or you shouldn't even be here. It was just, you didn't have any one of these 3. 2 of them were brand new cars, brand new, and the third one is a truck, used, in pretty close to mint condition. Not completely, but pretty close. And, I pull my Airstream trailer. So for me, I had to think about, am I going to sell the trailer and buy a car? Or am I going to buy this truck and pull my trailer still? My trailer is kind of my home. And when I'm not able to use my trailer, which is, I don't know, maybe 8 months of the year I live in my truck. Pretty bad. So I took the truck, and he made it flawless. There was not a hitch anywhere in sight. And when I went to do the paperwork, I come to find out they needed to eat a lot of money. They had to eat money on the cost of the truck. They had to eat money on my $25 truck, which they gave me an exorbitant amount of money for, which I understood is just paper money, but they were going to do that deal. I was going to be approved by a major lending institution in the car industry where I was buying. And wasn't supposed to happen. Now, the other thing I said as I was getting out of my broke down truck was that there's infinite possibilities that exist today that I can own another vehicle and not walk away from here. Because the only way I was going to leave was by walking. So, without horrifying the story too much more, it was me manifesting one of my needs and wants, wishes and desires to have transportation, to have a truck, to pull my trailer, to continue with the life that I foresee and have lived and enjoyed. And I said to myself, everything's going to be all right. I don't know if I believed that when I was saying it, but I sure in the hell tried to make myself believe I believed it. So I ended up manifesting, through the grace of God, a truck that I've been trying to manifest for, well, let's see, I blew that engine a year ago, the second cylinder, and I've been just hobbling around town for a year. So, took me a while, but it had to do with my thinking. I mean, I work on my thinking all the time with, being positive. Don't have negative thoughts. Don't have negative emotions. Stuff like that. And I've gotten better, obviously, to where I just don't let the negative stuff in at that time. And I think that helped in manifesting. The other thing I did was there's a greater intelligence in each one of us. We're all one. And we're all part of the creation. And we're all enmeshed. We're all part of the Big Bang, right? There are bits and pieces in each and every one of us that are in each and every one of us together. Same stuff. We're all one. We're all energy. How you get bogged down in life, this is just me and my research, is when you try to, and of course we all have until we become enlightened, but we all are part of this Newtonian mechanics, physics, which is just matter changing matter. What that means for you guys that are kind of new is that, okay, I guess I lost the internet connection there for a minute. I didn't look at my phone to see how long I lost it for. But anyway, to get away from the Newtonian model, where matter changes matter and you take on a second, third job and you work long hours forever and ever to try to get ahead, as opposed to understanding that there's a quantum model where it's your thoughts and intentions and emotions, where you can manifest things, as we just talked about with my truck. It's a hard one to swallow because most people don't believe it. Most people don't believe it works. Well, I just gave you an example, a very clear example, a real example, that it worked for me. It took me a long time to get good enough in that particular manifestation to acquire the truck, but I did do it. Now, I've manifested other things, but this was a big one for me. It's kind of along the lines of spontaneous remission, where you have to just basically change your belief system in order to not die. Because your belief system, your limiting belief systems, got you sick and diseased. And you had to change all that in order to walk out of hospice. So anyway, that's kind of what's been occupying my time. I don't know, the past 10 days, couple weeks. I don't even know what it's been. I've lost track of time. The other thing that was positive, you guys. I mean, it was, boy, and it still is difficult. Very difficult, but it was a positive thing, and I am grateful for that. And having gratefulness every single day that you wake up is imperative. You don't have to hit a wall and, have a catastrophe or a drama or a trauma. You don't have to have a diagnosis. You don't have to have a disease. You don't have to be depressed or anxious. You can just live in a life of joy and bliss and get up in the morning and be grateful. You don't have to go through, I guess, what I've gone through. I'm probably the poster child of how this doesn't work. Coming from the wrong angle. Why not make changes when things are going well as opposed to when things are going bad? So, the the second part I want to talk about, and again, just briefly, I'm not trying to make it difficult, but the second part I want to talk about is maybe not as positive and something I continue to work on earnestly in my program every waking and sleeping moment. And that's just this whole life of lack. I've gotten a lot better at not having any resources. It's another way to say money. And I can act in a lot of ways like I've already received money. Now again, we're talking quantum. We're not talking Newtonian, you guys. I'm not out there trying to find minimum wage job or less and try to get 2 or 3 of those in order to get ahead. For a couple reasons. One is because they abuse you. 2, because the managers are not educated nor trained properly. And they don't know enough about people and personalities and what motivates an individual to work really hard and be productive and happy in their job. I've gone and I've interviewed in the past, I don't know, we'll just start calling it 10 days. I've gone and I've interviewed to many jobs in the last 10 days, and what I've seen is horrific. There's people that are trying to hire people that are uneducated and untrained, and they have the wrong personalities for their job set. It's horrific, and it's degrading and despicable that they're in charge. And if you got hired or if you accepted a job that they gave you, that's how you're going to be treated on the inside. Because if management can't get HR properly trained and educated, you know they're not going to properly train or manage, you know, the supervisors or the leads inside. My direction has always been to be self-employed and do consultation, education, training, coaching, you know, in neuroscience and psychology. And how to erase the hardwired negative neurons and replace them so that you can become productive. Even though I may not do it on a regular basis myself, I do understand the steps very well, and I'm very adequate at being able to pass that information on to other people. I'd love to do more workshops and I don't know if they're lectures, but talks about my story. I mean, if I give you guys bits and pieces of my story, but there's a lot more to it than what I say. So, you know, but I don't produce an income that way. because nobody calls or texts or emails that they would like, this, that, or the other thing, and could I help them out? I'm not mad at people about that. I'm just thinking, well, maybe I just don't understand marketing well enough, to get some folks. I had thought the podcasts or the YouTube videos would be something that would, have a few people call or inquire. But it's not ever really happened. And I kind of get bummed out and cut back a little bit on what I'm doing. I ask periodically, and you have to. You listen to the other people out there, that haven't made their millions of dollars doing this, but, I ask for pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars. If anybody would be willing to put some money in my PayPal account, jzager@gmail.com. Because I'm self-supporting. It has nothing to do with begging. It has nothing to do with, trying to get money from people for the wrong reasons. It's a service. I've been doing this for 43 years. And when I talk, or whatever I do, it's science-based. Even if it's my own story in some cases, it's science-based. And I'm very good at what I do and would love to be able to help some more people. Also, likewise, since it is my career, my job, and I'm not out working in a box store for minimum wage, being mistreated, trying to change matter with matter. I'm trying to change what's going on in my life through the energy, the vibrations, the frequencies, trying to get everything elevated to the point that I start attracting, which is what happened with the truck. Everything aligned. The energy got up there and the vibrations and the frequency all matched. And there was no way that deal was not going to happen. And I don't think I said boo the whole time. I gave some basic facts they asked me about, but trust me, that was sent from a greater intelligence, a source, God, if you will. And that's how that happened. So the same thing is true here. I don't know why nobody's willing to fork out some pennies. But what I attribute that to is that there's so many people living in stress. They say 70%, as I said earlier, but it's probably close to 90%. Living on the streets, which basically that's what I do, is I live on the streets. I might park on a different street every night, trying not to get arrested or, what's that word, accosted? There's so many people walking the streets at night. They're looking in vehicles for cell phones or iPads or laptops or something. They're looking to break in. You're sometimes not sleeping, just trying to survive. But I think there's so many people out there that are living in stress. Even And I pay attention to this, you guys. Even the people living in the neighborhoods and the nice homes and driving the nice cars, I watch them as I sit in my car in parking lots and on streets. They're not happy. They're really not happy. And the way that they're dealing with that stress is through material goods. This is observation now. Not everybody is going to buy this, and there's going to be a fair amount of denial. Last night I was on a street, and one whole side of the block were big trucks, four-wheel drive trucks, with big boats and jet skis and RVs attached to all of them. And the owners of that block, on that block, that side of the street, would come out and, talk to one another about all the things they have. But there was never any genuineness from anybody. And I just sat in my truck. They didn't even know my truck was parked right across from them. And my windows were down and I was just listening, sitting in my truck. I don't even think they knew I was there. And I couldn't have been more than, what would that be, 30, 40 feet, 50 feet away? And I could overhear everything. And there's a lot of people with a lot of things that are not very happy. So if they could dismiss me at such close distance, what would provoke them to listen to a podcast about psychology, neuroscience, or gratitude, or thankfulness, or healing, or meditation, or manifesting, or intentions, or feelings, or neurons, thoughts, blah, 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 blah? Why would they even have an interest in listening to that? They give you statistics about how many people listen to you. I don't have anybody listening to me. I mean, of course, that's not true, but for the most part, my numbers are so minute. Like right now, I'm really just talking to myself. Sometimes I kind of play a game and I set up questions and stuff. And, I've got my website, johnzager.com, and, I ask people to check in with it and, write remarks and, have it become a community. I would even start a group, where everybody on the internet, say, would want to be in the same group. And we all talk about the same thing, healing and wellness and that sort of. But nothing. I don't get enough, you're supposed to have 1,000 people. Well, hell will freeze over before I ever get 1,000 people. I went and changed. They give you categories of where your podcast is. I used to be under talk, to where people could get on and just talk about this, that, or the other thing. And then I switched it over to psychology, neuroscience, social sciences. I think that's another category. A way to find you. If you go to Spreaker.com, you look up John Zager, my podcast will come up under psychology or something. It doesn't matter. They tell you which ones get more attraction than others. I don't know. I just think people are so stressed out, they're not listening to stuff like this, which is genuine. And it is the roadmap as to how you can stay healthy and get well. And then when you think about it, if people were to listen to programs like this, and I think I have a great program. I love my program. But if people do listen to it, they're so stressed out with, I don't know, seems like, I'm sitting on a street right now in a little park looking at a neighborhood. And obviously, people buy things. Looking up and down this street, people buy a lot of things. Who in the hell's going to give John Zager some pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, let alone dollars, for listening to his program every single day that offers all kinds of information for how to be a little healthier, how to not live a life of disease? You ever go to a grocery store and look at how many people that are sick? That amazes me. People are limping in. They have canes. We're not talking old people. They have casts. They have wheelchairs. They just present as sick. Jeez. So, there's a lot of stuff going on out there that there's a whole lot of denial. There's a whole bunch of denial happening with people. This is just research. This is just science. This is just statistics. All I'm saying is that when I look around every day, I see what science is telling me. That's all I'm saying. My life, I got myself into the predicament of lack based on limiting belief systems and perceptions I acquired as a child. And if you listen to Bob Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and if you listen to Bruce Lipton, PhD, talk about stuff, you're stuck in that program. You're stuck in that program. You're hardwired because you've never learned, you don't have the resources to know how to get your neurons disconnected and new neurons put in. You don't know how to downregulate the negative genes and upregulate the positive genes. Nobody ever taught you. That's why rich kids stay rich, and they can be the dumbest mofos there are out there. But they don't have limiting belief systems about money. It's all science, you guys. It's just all science, and it's not complicated. And it's a process you have to go through. You want to go through. You're excited to go through. There's going to be a day that I say this because I like to not predict, but design my future. And I have a future that obviously I need to be of service to the community and the world. And we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And we have to live every single day as if it's our last. And that person 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 are all important. And they need to be treated with importance and dignity. So, that's kind of been my escapade the past couple weeks, 10 days, couple weeks. And I can feel at times where, the energy vibrations and frequency are raising and they're getting pretty high. Last night was a tough night. Whew. Boy, I had to move once, twice, 3 times, and it was my 4th stop. I mean, I'd go to sleep and then I'd wake up with somebody screwing around. People come and park right behind you and then they shine their highlights and they're trying to see if anybody's there so that they can. I didn't sleep at all last night. And then this morning it finally, you get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock because you got to be out of the neighborhoods. Kind of tough. But anyway, so I'm back. Maybe I'll talk again a little bit later this afternoon or try again tomorrow morning. God bless everybody. Take care of one another. And I really look forward to talking to y'all again real soon. Thanks a lot. See you. Bye.